This is Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. It is Wednesday night, August the 19th, 2026. And if it is Wednesday night, it is Black Men Speak. Welcome to everyone who is joining us tonight. Make sure that you jump in on that chat line because we would love to hear your comments for tonight's show. We have a jam-packed show. Yes, half of our committee tonight is not here. JR should hopefully be joining us pretty soon. But I want to go ahead and get the show started to make sure that we are on time and respectful of everybody's time. So, again, want to thank everyone for joining us, and we look forward to having a great show tonight. We have several stories that we're going to address. Interesting stuff going on, and at Penn State, looks like a couple of fraternities are involved in a pretty sophisticated drug trafficking ring. We've definitely got to talk a little bit more about that. A sister was found hung from a tree recently, and authorities thus far are saying that they don't see any evidence of a lynching. Two former NBA players are alleging that they are going to declare for the 2027 WNBA Draft. Really? We'll talk about that a little bit more. We've talked about a story similar in the past, but Meta is under pressure again. Lawsuits from several AGs, state AGs across the state for endangering young people, allegedly endangering young people. And if we get to it, obviously, we talked about a story probably a month or so ago about the State Bill 10 and the impact that that is potentially having on the classrooms and the Ten Commandments being required to be posted in classrooms. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but we want to thank everyone for joining us. I got cousin Audrey K in the chat line. I want to thank her for joining us this evening, and we look forward to having a great show tonight. However, before we get started, we do have a couple of condolences that we do want to share with you tonight. So let's take a moment to acknowledge and pray for the families of those that we have lost recently.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. See, I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. Yes, you were.
All right, looks like we do have JR on the line with us. How's it going, JR?
It's going well. Thank you for starting the show without me. I apologize, everyone. We lost power here the other night, and all our clocks are off. And I didn't realize that I was actually an hour behind.
Okay, good deal. Well, the show must go on, and
Show must go on, as they say.
we will talk a few minutes about those that we've lost over the last few weeks, actually. But I want to acknowledge and pray for their families tonight. Some sisters who are very well known, beautiful sisters who have had a great impact and have left a lasting legacy. Some of you, especially those in the journalistic community, may know of Flo Anthony, especially for those of you who who are television and or radio. She's
Okay.
widely known as, of course, Flo Anthony. She became an ancestor on August the 6th at the age of 74 after losing a bout with cancer. She had demonstrated stress across print, radio, television, and publishing as well. She actually had a very, very well-known show called Go with the Flow, of course, after her name, Flo, which built her into a household name. Earlier in her career, she also had relationships in terms of public relations with Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, and Michael Spinks working as their PR specialist. And interestingly enough, I didn't know this, but she married Michael Spinks, the brother of Leon Spinks, who fought Muhammad Ali in January of this year. So definitely want to pray for her family and those who impacted and made a difference in their lives. Shay. Next, Jetta Jones, commonly known as Miss Dupree. I don't know for those of you who maybe used to listen to the Tom Joyner show on radio back in the day, but her name was Jetta Jones. She was beloved by generations of radio listeners as Miss Dupree on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. She became an ancestor on July the 29th at the age of 73, following a, a long illness that has not been released by the family, at least publicly yet. As the voice, writer, and creator of Mr. Pre on It's Your World, I do remember that show. Featured a segment that became a fan favorite on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. She was also a trailblazer behind the scenes, in addition to on the mic, serving as the first comedian in the show's famous funny chair, where her comic instinct made her a standout. Next, we will have Christy Knowings. For those of you who may be Nickelodeon fans, you may know this face. Former Nickelodeon star Christy Knowings, best known for her work on that platform, recently became an ancestor on August 11th at the very young age of 46. She suffered from an asthma attack that actually caused brain damage, and unfortunately, she never recovered. She appeared on Sesame Street and, of course, the Nickelodeon show All That from 1997, 2000. I know, Jimmy, I think you used to watch quite a bit of Nickelodeon. I don't know if you ever picked
I
up with.
watched a little bit of it, Tom, but dying from an asthma attack. I mean, really, you're talking about your body suffocates until your brain doesn't get enough oxygen, then you pass out, and the rest of your body dies. But it takes about 5 minutes for the rest of your body to just totally shut down and die from lack of oxygen. Tom, that's a horrible way to die.
Yes,
I mean, it's not quick; it's painful. The only good part about it is that you do pass out at some point. You get very lightheaded from the lack of oxygen. You don't realize that you're getting ready to die, so you do go kind of peaceful. But still, it's a horrible way to die when
yes.
you can't breathe.
Yeah, she went into a coma, and eventually her family realized that she wasn't coming back, and they took her off of life support. So very young, only 46 years old. Of course, we want to send our prayers, and I love that her family knows that she has had an impact on in the world. And then finally, we have Miss Nikki Ross, a very well renowned gospel singer, especially in the Houston area. She was a singer, pianist, arranger, and composer who became an ancestor on August the 14th, also pretty young, at the age of 52. She is remembered as more than just an extraordinary vocalist, though. She has had recordings with renowned artists such as Kirk Franklin, Gladys Knight, and Harry Connick Jr., all known not just nationally but internationally as well. And the cause of her death was not also publicly revealed, so we definitely want to give our prayers to her family, those who she impacted with her voice, her talent in so many different ways. And of course, we pray peace and blessings to her family and those who she has impacted in some way.
Okay.
So, with that being said, Jimmy, well now, unless you have any comments before we get started, we'll go ahead and go into our stories for tonight.
Now, let's go into the stories for tonight, Tom. We have a long list,
Yes,
packed
we do.
show.
Yeah, we do. We do. We are going to start with a pretty interesting story. We have a developing story at Penn State University, where authorities have charged 13 current and former students of two fraternities on that campus in a cocaine trafficking ring. Now, this is kind of an interesting story, so hear me out. That the members of Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi fraternities are alleged to have run a sophisticated drug trafficking ring from as early as 2023. The cocaine was allegedly transported from Philadelphia, New York to State College, where Penn State is, where it was cut, packaged, and distributed to Penn State students. Now, more alarming, fraternity pledges were coerced to cut and package drugs as a part of their initiation process. The principal drug suppliers are alleged to be Augusto Abatiello. I don't get me getting the name wrong, but Augusto Agatiello and Thomas Robinson, 24 and 23. The two made repeated trips to Philly and New York to buy the product. Prosecutors alleged that Abatiello was one of the largest cocaine dealers supplying the Penn State campus. He surrendered to authorities on August 18th after failing to appear in court. He's been arraigned on felony charges, including possession with intent to distribute cocaine and conspiracy, being denied bail. Three other defendants, including Thomas Robinson, Mohammed Harabi, and Lawrence Zivak, face felony charges, including corrupt organization, conspiracy, and dealing in proceeds of unlawful activities. It gets better. Paul Robinson, Thomas Robinson's father, one of the young men who were involved, is separately charged with allegedly tampering with evidence and hindering the investigation, including concealing a safe containing the drugs and the cash. Delta Upsilon Fraternity has been placed on suspension. Sigma Chi Fraternity is not recognized at the Penn State campus. Prosecutors allege the drug trafficking became intertwined with fraternity initiation, which potentially turns what might have otherwise been as an individual drug offense into an organized crime ring.
Well, Tom, I mean, it costs a lot of money to maintain a fraternity house. So, yeah, I guess they decided they didn't want to go out and do car washes on the weekend.
Well, I don't think it was it because unlike in some of the D9, what we might call predominantly black fraternities and sororities, they have alumni chapters within these organizations.
They
A lot
do.
of times, these fraternity houses are actually sponsored by the alumni chapters who have the money and the resources in order to get them housing. And so the fraternity pledges, they stay, at the fraternity houses that are sponsored and underwritten by these guys. But these guys got a little bit interested and a little bit greedy. It's just amazing, and that's not to say that we don't know that there's some illicit activities on college campuses, but this seemed to be pretty sophisticated.
Well, Tom, they got to take that business knowledge and put it to good use. I mean, they're manufacturing, they're mixing, and they're marketing, they're selling. So, and then they got to keep a profit and loss sheet. So they're trying to make money. So I mean, it's a good business experience. Penn State should be happy for these kids.
Gotcha. So you're calling this entrepreneurship, Jim. That's what you're saying.
Well, I mean,
Really,
probably
really,
not. It's not a lemonade stand, Tom. I mean, back in our day in school, we went out and watched cars and had parties to raise money for our chapters, man. But we didn't have big deep pocket sponsors and alumni. But
still don't.
well, yeah, still don't. Although I do try to send some donations to my old chapter from time to time when they ask for it, so they have something going on. But those donation checks, Tom, they keep asking for more and more. I mean, we're not talking about a few hundred anymore. They talking about 1,000 now to help them out. So, but anyway, Tom, I mean, we know that a lot of the large fraternities at the big schools, not only do they have sponsors that support the house, Tom, but I mean they have den parents who cook for them and clean the place up. So I mean, it's a pretty good deal if you can join one of them. But I
Well,
guess these kids went just a little bit too far, man.
they got a
And
little bit green. I don't know how long they've been doing this. It's pretty
Tom, been
interesting.
doing it for a long time. They didn't just start doing this, man. You don't get that comfortable when you involve in pledgees into your operation, knowing that somebody could easily talk and blow the whistle and blow the whole thing up, unless you're really really comfortable at what you're doing and that nobody's looking, no one's paying attention, no one cares. I mean, we know kids do drugs on campus. We know
Yes.
they drink. We know a lot of things, illicit things are happening. So and they didn't just start happening; they've been happening, and so these kids get comfortable in that environment. So and because no one's really paying too much attention, you don't see DEA on campuses trying to clean up drug organizations. That's the last place you expect a drug ring or RICO to be filing a RICO case on anyone is on campus. So a lot of times the stuff that goes on campus just goes under the radar. No one really cares too much as long as no one dies.
Right, and there are such things as drug overdoses, and sometimes these things do
Right.
happen. And no,
Yeah,
this is very serious, and somebody could have really gotten hurt. Jimmy, I remember being, I went to A&M, you went to UNO. Of course, we didn't have nice fraternity houses. The other fraternities, the inner fraternity councils, they had these big mansions, of course, where their members and stuff like that stayed, man. And we just had to stay in a whole ranky dorm. And so these young folks got a little bit greedy. We'll definitely keep an eye on it, Jimmy, as this story just broke yesterday, but this has been going on for, I guess, about 3 years, since they say 2023. So this is a pretty interesting story. Usually when you hear about the fraternities and sororities, it's about some pretty heinous pledging process, but they've taken a couple of steps up to get into organized crime, and this is what I call this organized crime, drug trafficking.
well, Tom, when I was in school, just to date myself a little bit here, a dorm room was $600 a semester, and Theta Phi actually rented one of the rooms. I had one room, and then I had a suite room next to me. We shared a bathroom, and they would rent that room. That was our shrine room. Our that was our fraternity room, our shrine room. We kept all our stuff, so that cost us $600 a semester, and we had to go out and raise that money through car washes or do whatever we had to do to get it each semester to keep the room. So, but yeah, it'd be nice if we did have a frat house to go hang out in, and deep pockets from someone sponsoring with deep pockets to pay for our food and pay the bills. We could just lay up and sleep all day and eat, have
Yeah,
fun.
and then get the old exams to take the exam, so you don't have to study.
Now we did have that. We did have a war chest, and I'm gonna give credit to the Teeks for helping us out there. We made friends with them. We would let them come to our parties for free. In exchange, I mean, this is when I took over as president of the chapter. I make this quick. I know we got a lot of stories. I took over as chapter president. I didn't realize that all the white fraternities and sororities had these war chests. I was like, well, when I talked to one, I was like, what is that? And he told me, he was like, we have just about every exam from every class, at least up to the junior level, that you can imagine. And I was like, well, why don't we have that? So, Tom, I made a deal with the Teeks that whenever we have a party, all the Teeks could come for free if they would just let us have access to their all their exams and stuff, and let us copy them. Then they kind of gave us the technique on how to do it. When you take classes, if you get to keep the exam, try to remember the question. I mean, they had all kind of techniques how they built this thing up. But I see why they had such high GPAs, Tom, because they never had to study for damn exams. They had all the damn exams and all the answers. So, needless to say, that we went from maybe being the top fraternity on campus, because we used to beat the Qs and the Kappas out for GPA. But within a year after getting out of the award chest, we were able to beat the Deltas out, Tom, who were always king of the hill when it came to GPA. So, so a fraternity life does have an advantage sometimes.
Gotcha. We'll definitely keep an eye on this, folks. It'll be very
Yes.
interesting. Now, the interesting thing about it is, you all know, we still got. Okay, weed is legal in a lot of states now. Not recreational, but medical weed. But you still have brothers and sisters, for that matter, who are still serving out 25 and 30-year sentences. But this cocaine stuff, they may get a tight, a slight tap on the wrist, and maybe get 5 years, if anything, for this, Jim.
Yeah. Well, that is true, Tom. And let's just say, for the record, Penn State is not the only campus where this is happening. I'd imagine that across most of the major schools across America, that this is happening. So, um, and this may just shine a light on the fact that people need to look at these campuses, especially some of the big ones, Tom, that are out in remote areas, a little closer than what they do.
I would agree. So we'll definitely let you know when we have more information on that. Now we'll go our next story, Jimmy and I. I wasn't aware of this, but it looks like we've got the basketball world is being shaken up. You have two former NBA players, Jimmy, who are declaring for the well, alleging that they're going to declare for the WNBA draft, which has created a
No,
stir.
they have.
They have. Okay.
They've signed the documents, saying they want to be eligible. So I'm putting the name on the list for
It,
to be included in the pool for
right.
next year's draft.
Yeah. Former NBA center Ennis Cantor, 6'10 inches, who played in the NBA for 11 NBA seasons, announced on August the 7th that he was declaring himself as a WNBA prospect. He reviewed the WNBA's eligibility rules and believed the league's emphasis on self-identification and inclusion would allow him to declare for the draft. Within hours after that, another former NBA player, Royce White, announced he would also declare, that's the guy to the right, would declare for the 2027 draft. White, who was selected 16th overall by Houston in the 2012 draft, said he identified as a transgender woman for purposes of professional basketball and
For
indicated
basketball purposes only.
he would challenge the league legally if denied eligibility. It comes amid increasing heated national debate about transgender participation in women's sports. WNBA says there are currently no immediate eligibility issues involving transgender players and maintains that its collective bargaining agreement states that only women are eligible to play in the NBA. This is the rub, though. Their collective bargaining agreement states that only women can play, but it doesn't provide a great deal of
It doesn't
specific.
define what a woman is, Tom,
Exactly.
and they can't seem to define it. They put a commission together of the general managers and some executives to get together to try to figure it out. So when a group of highly paid, highly educated people can't figure it out, the Supreme Court justice can't figure it out. Nobody on that loony left seem to be able to figure out what a woman is. They're going to have problems, Tom. So they don't want to come out and declare because let's just face it, that Gainer girl may not be a girl at all now if we actually get her tested or him tested. So there's some such. Then there may be some others that are sneaking under the radar also. So if they actually start testing, I know the professional tennis have declared that women's tennis is for women. Now, I don't know if you knew this, Tom. There is actually a trans woman playing in the French professional league, women's league.
Yeah, I know nothing about the French women's professional league, so I would not know.
And Tom, he is the leading scorer, leading rebounder, leading shot blocker. He's all defense. He's all offense.
Well, that
Multiple
is
times MVPs.
because he's bigger and stronger than the rest of the women.
And Tom, you know how some trans women, if you look at them the right way, the sun, the shadows, you squint a little bit, maybe they look like a woman. Tom, this guy looks nothing like a woman. There's no nothing you can put on your
What
grandma's.
you're saying is there's nothing feminine about him.
No, nothing, Tom. The guy is chiseled and cut, and he is just abusing the women's league. He doesn't have to play a full game; can easily score 50 points a game. So if these two guys ever make it into they're either going to pay him or just come out and say that define what a woman is to keep them out. But if they don't, Tom, it's going to be the end of the WNBA because
I would agree.
there'll be a lot of G League players deciding that they are temporarily, for basketball only purposes, define themselves, identifying as a woman.
And
And they make it. Go ahead.
and that's kind of really where the rubber meets the road, which we'll talk about in a few. But this is the issue with the current language, the CBA, collective bargaining agreement, for purposes of eligibility, does not specify whether a woman means biological sex at birth or not. It does not determine whether a transgender woman qualifies or does not qualify. It doesn't have anything having to do with any hormone or testosterone thresholds, any surgical requirements, nothing. It just says that only women can play. And now, given the level of specificity when it comes to transgender, I don't know all of them, but the reality of it is, I'm surprised they did not see this coming, given all of the drama that we've seen over the past several years regarding this, Jimmy. So it's going to be
Well, Tom, they never thought that a serious basketball player would ever, who was a male, would want to come play with the women. And
it,
and so and so let's face it. They've their popularity has increased in the last couple of years. So they're getting more TV revenue, bigger contracts. Instead of going around in buses, they're actually flying planes now. So they're getting some of the perks that NBA players get. And so of course they have deeper pockets now. So some of the women make more money than a lot of the players in the G League make.
Well, that's really what this comes right down to, Jimmy. Because I think from my understanding, the top salary in the G League is maybe 45,
$150,000,
45,
yeah,
$50,000, and the top salary I think now in the WNBA is about 1.5 million, which is nothing compared to the NBA. But the reality
right.
of it is, an old, washed up, retired NBA player can still go in and dominate in the WNBA. And they figure, hey,
Tom, Jordan is 63 years old right now. If Jordan decided to, for basketball purposes only, to identify as a woman, he would easily average 100 points a game without even breaking a sweat, Tom. I mean for 40 minutes, if he played 40 minutes, yeah, he would put up a triple every night. 100 points, 20 rebounds, 10 block shots.
yeah, Jimmy. So this this is going to be pretty interesting, Jimmy. I'm certainly hoping because, quite frankly, I know you watch a little bit more WNBA than I do, and I've been kind of keeping up with it. I mean, the talent level has significantly improved over the past several years. They have a lot of talented young women out there who are playing. The game is actually, in some cases, they play better team ball than the NBA does. Quite frankly. So it will be very interesting to see what this happens, but I certainly hope it doesn't get to a point where this tarnishes the integrity of the league, because yeah, this could get pretty bad.
So, Tom, just put things in proper perspective.
It would be a circus.
You have two former first round draft picks for the NBA who played NBA ball, who are now out of the game, who signed up for the draft. When the women's team played for the Olympics, which is pretty much the all-star team for the WNBA, Tom, the Olympic team couldn't beat a high school basketball team that had won a state championship. They couldn't even beat a junior high boys team that had won a championship. So if professional women can't beat I mean, these junior high players are good now. They won a state championship
Well,
or a
yeah,
championship.
but you're talking about the physical strength and the speed of male talent.
Yeah. So even at teenage level, teenage boys are still stronger and faster than grown women. And so this would be a slaughter for not just a basketball player, Tom. First round basketball. If you're good enough to be picked in the first round, you have some talent. Even if you're out of the game now, 10 years you've been out of the game, you still have some skills that surpass the best women basketball player in the WNBA. So either you alienate the alphabet group and define what a woman is and keep the men out, or you pay them. And if you once you start paying them, Tom, I may have to go sign up for the draft myself for NBA to identify as a woman for basketball purposes only to see if they'll write me a check.
Jimmy, let's hope not. But this has to do with money. I mean,
Yes, this is a money issue.
yeah, yeah. This is a money issue, and
So what's your prediction? What are you thinking they're going to do in the end?
I don't think.
Open the door or pay the check?
What do you mean, pay the check?
Well, I mean, if they don't let these guys in, even though they're eligible, then they're
Right.
going to sue, and so that's going to
I
result
would
in
say
a discrimination lawsuit.
I would say pay them the money to go away as opposed to destroy the entire league.
Okay.
That's what it meant. But in the interesting thing, from my understanding, they said that there are eight more men.
Yeah, Tom. I mean, everybody's getting ready to line up to be eligible for the draft because they may be thinking what you're thinking, that in the end they're not going to let us in, so they'll just have to write the check to get rid of us.
Yeah. So you're really talking about a legal loophole that has opened up to a potential payday for some folks who can't, who have aged out and or just don't have talent level to play in the NBA. I mean, even the minimum salaries in the NBA are significant compared to the average
Like
salary.
$10 million. It's not bad to be a bench player in the NBA. You know, I
Exactly.
mean, Starting players make 40 and $50 million, but you can be a bench player and make 20 or 10. I mean, I think 10 is like the minimum for a veteran.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's still a nice paycheck to sit in on the bench. Um, yeah, Tom. So, and this is just for 2027. So if you write the checks for next year and get rid of this group of guys, 2028 will be a whole new ball game, and there'll be a whole new group of guys signing up, including myself, to get paid.
I know that other sports have, from my understanding, more specificity in terms of who is eligible to play in the game, that being professional sports. So I'm just very surprised that they left this type of loophole, in their operating guidelines and their collective bargaining agreement. So we will definitely see what
Well,
happens.
Tom, the league is very lesbian friendly. It's very alphabet people friendly.
Well, but
They
this,
don't
but
want to
this,
alienate that. But right now, the alphabet people, when it was just the alphabet people supporting the league, they made no money. They were losing money year after year, and no one watched the game. And now that they have some crossover appeal, and other people are starting to watch the game, and they're starting to make money, they're gonna have to decide. I mean, do they stick with traditional Americans who don't want grown guys playing in women's sports, or do you support the alphabet people who support trans sexual people? So they have to make a choice. And I'm thinking if they're greedy capitalists like myself, they may decide to go with more traditional American values. But if they don't care about making money, Tom, they may stick with the alphabet
well,
people.
if they want to keep the league alive, then yeah, that's what ultimately they're going to have to make a decision on. And I believe there is a lot more money to be lost if they allow this to get out of control.
Yeah, it's already starting, Tom. So let's see what that happens. We'll keep you guys updated when more information is provided about what they're going to do. What's our next story, T?
All right, before we go to that, we got a couple more folks on the chat line.
Okay, what do we have?
We have Miss Marion Square on the chat line. I want to thank her for joining us. Says someone might need to go on mute. There may be some background noise. We've got Miss Tanya Hall on the line as well. Cousin Audrey, we have a whistling sound with sound and audio. And
I
then
think that's your mic, Tom.
it
Because
is
when you lean back a little bit, we get more static, and sometimes when you get
okay.
closer,
Okay.
it clears up a little bit. So,
Okay. But I'll get
um,
closer. And then we got Simply Bray on the line, who I think you may know as well.
yeah, my daughter, Miss Bray, my beautiful daughter.
All right.
Yay!
All right. Let's go ahead and go to our next story, Jimmy.
Oh, Tom, before we do go to the next story, since I have my daughter on the line, here's a shameful plug for her.
Okay.
She makes a very mean hot sauce, everybody. Um, she sent me some. I've used it up. It was small jars, very good. She sent me some of her peppers, which I jarred up. And actually, I drink the pepper water every day for health. It helps my sinuses. But yeah, eventually, I'm trying to figure out a way to help her get to a where she can bottle this stuff, and because it is very, very good, all fresh, natural ingredients. So yeah, my daughter's a farmer and entrepreneur coming up.
All right, that'll work, Jimmy. And one thing I didn't think about since we did get started, do you want to do your legal segment as well?
Yeah, we can do that right now if you want. I'll make it
Let's go
quick,
ahead and
Tom.
do
'Cause I know we got a couple of other interesting stories. This
okay.
is not legal advice, guys, because I'm not a licensed attorney any place. So this is just legal education. Um, and it basically has to do with, and I've said it here before, and I just want to keep reiterating this because sometimes when I get emails from people that don't fully understand, like if you don't have anything to hide, why not talk to officers? Well, I'm going to tell you why you don't talk to officers. Because anything you say, just like they tell you, can and will be used against you. They're not just saying that just for conversation piece. They're telling you what you say is going to be used against you. So, and you don't know what they're going to use the information for. If you raise your voice, they can say you're agitated. If your eyes are watery, they can say you were glossy. They elect you under the influence of drugs or alcohol or some other narcotics. You don't have any control of what goes in the incident report and what they're going to write down. And then they can take your words, Tom, and misuse them. But the advice here, the information here today is be careful when you're talking to officers. I say the golden rule is if you're under detention, do not open your mouth. You have to keep your mouth shut. And the way you find out if you're being detained or not is just ask the question, am I being detained or am I free to go? And if they don't want to answer, and they keep asking you questions, keep reiterating that same question back to them. Am I detained or am I free to go? If they say you're free to go, Tom, leave. You don't worry about being rude. Like, hey, I just want to talk to you and ask you a few questions. Just leave. Just walk away. Close your door or drive off if you're in a car. They say that you are being detained. Keep your mouth shut. But here's the thing with keeping your mouth shut, people. You can't just be silent because the courts have ruled that your silence is guilt, even though you have a right to be silent.
How
And
is
that,
silence guilt?
well, Tom, because law enforcement claim that when you invoke silence and you decide you don't speak to them, that's a sign of guilt. That only guilty people have something to hide. And then on top of there was a very famous case where this was argued, where it went to the Supreme Court, and basically the state was saying that, oh, they didn't invoke their right to be silent because they never said anything. We don't even know if they even knew what their rights were to invoke. And so, of course, the courts are always ruling on the side of law enforcement for the most part. I mean, they get every break, every leeway. They claim to be stupid about everything, and I think that was the wrong ruling because you have a right to free speech. When you talk, you don't have to say, "Hey, Tommy, I'm invoking my First Amendment right to free speech before I speak." So you shouldn't have to invoke your right to be quiet to be quiet. You should be able to be quiet. And we know if you're not talking to me, okay, well, he's exercising his right to be quiet. But no, you have to invoke your right to silence. You have to invoke your right not to answer questions. You have to invoke you just simply say it. You have to make sure it's clear and what the courts say, unambiguous. So to be very clear, I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I'm invoking my right to not answer questions. I'm invoking my right to not participate in your investigations without an attorney present. So you have to invoke these rights where it's plain and clear and captured on body camera if they have it running. Or if they don't, I suggest you take your phone out and you start recording so you can capture it. But once you invoke these rights, Tom, you have to stick to your gun. Do not, if you're not going to answer any more questions, don't let them come back to your door with your driver's license and say, hey, I just need to verify your name. Your name is J.R. Stewart, right? And see, if you open your mouth and answer, then you just uninvoke your right to not answer questions because you just answered a question.
So they trick you and then all bets
correct. Or if you say, I'm not making any more statements, I have a right to remain silent, okay, they'll respect that for a second. And then they may come back and then ask you some very innocent question. Hey, I know that you live down there by the interstate. That knows there at first, when they first built it, there wasn't a lot of service roads, and now they have service roads everywhere. Do you find it easier getting gas? And it seemed like it's just casual. I'm just here while the other officers are writing you a ticket or something. And as soon as you open your mouth, guess what you just did? You said that you were going to invoke your right to remain silent, and you just opened your mouth, so you just uninvoked that right. The other reason, Tom, if you got a traffic stop, there's a case called Rodriguez, which I won't go into the details of, but cops know the Rodriguez case, just like they know Mims, just like they know Terry v. Ohio, and they know the Mims case. They know all these cases that deal with traffic stops. When you're pulled over for a traffic stop, you're being detained at that point. They don't have to say that you're being detained. Just the fact that they stopped you and they control your movement, you are detained. But here's the thing, Tom. They're on the clock at that point. As soon as your car comes to a stop, that time they have 20 minutes, even though it's not defined by statute. But generally the courts, I know here in Texas, they recognize 20 minutes for a traffic stop. Some jurisdictions, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But generally 20 minutes is kind of the golden rule. So even though the Supreme Court didn't rule on the length of time, they just said the amount of time it takes to get the mission done, to write a ticket or to do a wellness check. Whatever time it takes that's reasonable to another officer is the amount of time you have. So they recognize, generally everyone recognizes that's about 20 minutes. So when you stop, you have 20 minutes to be back on the road and for you to regain your freedom. But if you are having a conversation with an officer at your door, you roll your window down, and you're having a conversation, all that conversation time now eats into your 20 minutes. You may think, oh, okay, he pulled me over, it's 12 o'clock. At 12:20, I'm free. And you think that you can sit there and talk for 10 minutes, and then he only has 10 minutes to go write your ticket or run your ID for warrants. And then at 12:21, you think, okay, I'm off the hook now, I'm ready to go. No, you've extended this 10 minutes because you were talking. So there's another reason anytime you're detained by officers, keep your mouth shut. Invoke your rights. If you don't know what your rights are, just say, I'm invoking the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. 4, 5, and 6. That's all you need to say. I'm
There,
invoking those rights.
I'm invoking the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments.
And then keep your mouth shut. Zip it. Don't say
All
another
right,
word. I don't
all
care
right,
how polite they are, how nice they are, and don't worry about being rude to officers because they're trying.
all right,
All they're trying to do is trick you.
all right, Jimmy. We've got a
So
few
let's
more
move
minutes.
on.
All right, let's
What's
go
our
now.
next story?
Let's go to our next story, Jimmy. We have a disturbing story out of Mississippi again that has renewed the national debate about lynching, Jimmy. Taja Fortune, 29-year-old woman, was found hanging from a tree behind a vacant home in Jackson, Mississippi on August the 3rd. Authorities have not called the incident a lynching. There is no public evidence established that Fortune was murdered by another person or that her death was racially motivated, but she was hanging in the backyard of a vacant house. Okay. Jackson police have described the investigation as active and have not released details explaining how she came to be hanging from the tree. There have been to date, Jimmy, over 4,400 racially motivated lynchings of African Americans post-slavery, from post-slavery to 1950. The majority, of course, in the South, Jimmy. This story just broke, and we're getting some details on it, Jimmy. And so we have
I
just,
believe it's the sixth one this year, Tom.
yeah,
And I think when we covered the story back before, it was around 3 or 4. So there have been a few more since then. And I speculated back then, Tom, that I suspect that if there is foul play, that this is a person who drives for a living who's doing this. But it's interesting, Tom, that before there's even a medical exam or a coroner report, they've already concluded that these deaths are suicides.
I understand that, Jimmy. Of these six that we had this year, I don't know how many have happened over the last decade, maybe 25 or 30, alleged hanging, so to speak. Practically all of them have to do with black men or black women, and the vast majority of them have been proclaimed no foul play. I find that very, very dubious, Jimmy. Jimmy, you're on mute if you cannot hear me. Jimmy, you're on mute.
Okay. I
Okay.
was the dog's barking a little bit. Hey, I can imagine, Tom, that of all the ways to kill yourself, that black people would select lynching without history of lynching or hanging. That you can shoot yourself, you can take pills, you can drown yourself. I mean, there are a lot of ways to go kill yourself. But at the end of the rope, hanging yourself, and not one I would think black people would just jump to.
We don't have that history, Jimmy. It doesn't. It doesn't. In fact, and I think it has frustrated a lot of folks, and especially within our community, that every time, and we've had, I can't even count the number of times that we have had to talk about stories. Someone is hanging in a vacant lot. Someone got the kid got his head cut off. They've had people who showed up watched it. Nolan Wells, of course, we're still talking about that in Mississippi. Now this is a sister in Mississippi. And all of a sudden, the first thing that law enforcement concludes is, well, we don't see any evidence of foul play. Now, I would find it very interesting if it was anyone outside the community that was even a measurable number of incidents like this, that they would just come to the conclusion, well, we think it's suicide.
Yeah, they jump to that conclusion very quickly before they even do a full investigation. Sometimes the medical examiner hasn't even given their report yet. The autopsy hasn't been done, and they've already concluded no foul play and moving on. So, yeah, and I find it very suspicious, Tom. So, and I still suspect that if this is tied to a single person, that we may have a serial killer who probably moves around, who drives trucks, because we're talking about different locations. And the reason you're able to move around without drawing attention to yourself, because it's what you do for a living.
Well, Jimmy, my take is that the sheriff's office, or whomever is involved, they're extremely fast to declare that they don't see any evidence of foul play, but they're very slow to actually do any serious forensic investigation of it, Jimmy. And these usually are cases that involve people within our community. And the reality of it is, Jimmy, is because they don't take it seriously.
Well, Tom, in this case, I wish the local people, would make more noise to force an investigation. Even if your local enforcement, or the county sheriff or the parish sheriff doesn't want to do it, see if you can go to the state level. Every state has investigators um, that can investigate crimes. Also, everybody has. Well, in Texas, we have the Rangers, but everybody has state troopers that can go in and do an investigation. Also, so petition the state to step in
This
when
is
your local authorities are not investigating things properly.
Jimmy. That would be nice, but you have to remember that the majority of these hangings, the majority of these washed up children on the beach, they happen to be in the South. And as we both know, if we're being honest with each other, is that they have no political will to take these incidents seriously and or to take the full force of their government or their legal authority in order to investigate and bring a speedy recovery. Because the reality of it is, Jimmy, parents want answers. They want answers, and they want to know that those whose taxpayer money they are paying for are treating them fairly without impartiality, regardless of what side of the tracks they own. They want answers. What happened to their child? What happened to their mother? What happened to their loved one? And in the South, Jimmy, that just isn't it because, quite frankly, they have no political will when it comes to our community. And quite frankly, Jimmy, we unfortunately don't have the influence because we're usually not running the sheriff's offices and the law enforcement agencies in most of these areas, whether they are in large cities like Jackson, Mississippi, or whether they're in small rural towns, many of which I've been to in the South.
Yeah.
Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, wherever it is, they have no political will or interest in bringing a swift resolution of this.
And with Tom, I'll be totally blunt about this. Even when you have areas where you have um, enforcement agencies that are run by black people, they still do a horrible job because to them
How
it's
many
not
of those,
black or white.
how many of those are out there, though?
It's not that many, even in the ones where they are, a black sheriff or a black chief of police, um, it's still about protecting the blue and looking out for the blue. And the blue comes first. The people are just servants and serfs to be ruled over. So you still don't get justice. So regardless of what color the person is that's running the agency, the point is that people, if you simply take it, then you're going to keep taking it. But you have to, at some point, we have to get back to the point in time where we stand up for our rights and show that we're willing to put our bodies and our lives on the line and stand up for what's right. And that this is a payment for the future for our kids and our grandkids, the sacrifices that we make today. Unfortunately, Tom, this generation and the last couple of generations don't want to make any sacrifices. No one complains. No one goes and file a complaint. And so we continue to catch hell, and law enforcement continues to look the other way because they know they can get away with it. If they knew they were going to get caught and they couldn't get away with it would be different. But the fact that you know you can get away with it, even when a body cam, a dash cam is running, and you can still get away with it, that shows just Tom, just how bad things are.
Jimmy, I think one of the things that makes a difference now, and we've talked about this, over and over again, is that a lot of times, the only thing that has gotten us justice is this. Because now everybody can be a journalist, everybody can be a camera person, and they
Take
can
it
go
out and
out.
use it.
George Floyd, but not to evoke that story again, but if it weren't for those phones with cameras on them, in most cases, most of these stories would not have been recorded, taken seriously, or
Right.
addressed. We've seen too many. To your point, Jimmy, the story we talked about some weeks ago about the young lady who was, beat down by an officer, and if it wasn't for the fact that somebody actually had video
The
footage
ring
of it,
camera. Yeah,
never
if the
would,
ring camera hadn't captured it,
never would
even
have.
though even though there was a black officer on the scene, he was going to back up his fellow blue officer, the white officer who was doing the beating. That poor lady didn't have a chance. Tom, they're holding both of her hands, arms. She can't even block the blows as he's Mike Tyson punching her out multiple times, which is very cowardly for a grown man to be doing that to a woman.
They don't care because they don't really see folks within certain communities as human, and they feel that
They
they have
don't.
the right to treat them. They treat animals worse than they treat people. They treat animals better than
Better than they treat people. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
They would never do that to anybody's dog.
No, Tom, they wouldn't. So, but once again, that is, and I'm not going to say it's our fault, but it's people. Anytime you have issue with any public sector worker, be it a cop, be it DMV, be it anyone, disrespect you, treat you poorly, please let your voice be heard. Go file a complaint. It may not go anywhere, but at least it's on record that has been filed. And hopefully, you file enough of them, this person may be forced out at some point if he or she pisses someone off who decides to
Well,
use those complaints against them.
it comes down to money because when there is a trail that is following an individual and or a particular agency, and then you start talking about lawsuits, that's really where the rubber meets the road. When a city or a county starts having to write big checks, that's when something starts changing.
Yeah, Tom, but the following 42 USC under 1983, section 1983, it's about $1,500. The filing fee alone is $495 in federal court. And generally, lawyers would charge you about $1,000 to write up and file it for you. Although you can go to a law library at the library, find a law section, because prisoners do it all the time in prison. They file these cruel and unusual punishment lawsuits in federal court all the time. So you can do it yourself if you're willing to take a weekend and just go down there and write notes, look at some examples of something that been filed, and you can write your own up. But the filing fee is still $500 to file it, even though even if you do it pro se.
All right, we will definitely keep an eye on this story because this is a developing story that we're going to keep our eye on, and we'll definitely let you know when we have more information on that one. Next, Jimmy, we've talked about this before, but there is another lawsuit against Meta. We talked about one maybe a couple of months ago. There's a coalition of U.S. Attorney Generals that have accused Meta, formerly Facebook, of deliberately designing Instagram and Facebook to keep children and teenagers engaged, even when the company allegedly knew the platforms could harm their mental health. The trial begins this week in Oakland, California. The case was originally filed in October of 2023 and involved a coalition of states led by California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey, alleging that Meta designed its platform to be addictive to children, failed to adequately protect children, collected information from children under the age of 13, which is supposed to be illegal, and lied to parents and the public about the safety of its platform. The states are seeking damages approaching 200 billion. Yeah, that's 200 with a B. Along with significant changes to the way Meta operates Facebook and Instagram. And of course, there are other social media platforms that are in the line of sight, TikTok, YouTube, etc.
So anyway, so Tom, I know this lawsuit stems from a lot of young kids who've committed suicide as a result of torment and harassment and bullying on these social platforms. Parents, if you have children, keep your children off of these platforms. Yeah, don't allow your child to get so wrapped up in the opinions of others. First of all, they should only value their opinion and your opinion. Other people's opinions shouldn't even matter. So you need to teach that to them up front. So, but somehow these kids, Tom, are so sensitive they can't take any criticism, and yet they want to document every aspect of their life, put it on Instagram, put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook for everyone to see and comment on. Tom, there's a reason why Alphabet, Jones, Google, and YouTube, and a few others is the largest employer of neurologists in the country. Meta is second. They own Facebook and Instagram. Tom, these people, this is their product. It's hits and views and watch hours. This is what they sell. They have an invested interest to make. That's how they make their money, by getting people to come on their platforms. They have a business interest to go out there and bring in as many people as they can and keep you there for as long as they can to keep you interested on their platform. This is how they make their money. I'm not sure what these parents want for them to somehow close up shop, not make the product addictive. I mean, it's like asking cigarette companies not to make cigarettes addictive, or the alcohol companies not to make alcohol addictive, or even the drug dealers to sell you a drug that's not addictive. Tom, these people make money from addiction. If you're in the addiction business, what else are you going to do except provide a product or a service that's addictive? So parents, come on now. Some of this falls on the parents also. Get your children off of these platforms if they are so damn sensitive that they can't take criticism from their peers that result in them committing suicide or doing other bad things to themselves. Just take them off the platform.
Jimmy, I agree with you in principle. It's going to be very difficult because, of course, these young people get on these platforms at a very early age. They become addicted because, of course, of the dopamine that is released when they are using these things, and of course, the constant stimuli and the need for constant
Constant. Yes.
once they get on these and they become, to your point, addicted to these platforms. Jimmy, you and I didn't grow up with computers. We did not have computers in the hell. We didn't grow up with a excuse me, a darn TV in our room. So I mean, we didn't have to deal with some of the technology. So our brains are wired differently because, of course, we were connected to human interaction. Now, if you put someone, Jimmy, in solitary confinement for several days, several weeks at a time, that does something to you because humans are designed for human connection. But I don't know that they were particularly designed for a connection to technology where they're needing constant stimuli. And if they're not getting constant stimuli, then they go into a state of depression. And that is what is happening literally to these young people. They're going to a state of depression because they're not getting their stimuli. They're not getting their fix.
Well, Tom, I guess parents need to start patting them on the back more. I mean, we covered this story. We covered a story similar to this years ago on this show, where where the article pointed out that the alphabet executives, those are people on Google and YouTube, Tom, don't let their kids on the platforms. Don't even let the kids have calculators, tablets, no technology. You do it by hand. You learn the old-fashioned way. Now, if these people who run the platforms don't allow their kids to be on their platform that they run, then why should the rest of us have our kids on there? We should take it from the people who actually design these things to say that, yeah, they know how bad these things are. That's why they don't let their kids on them. So we should go take their example and not let our kids on it either, Tom. But if you do,
One or two reasons, Jimmy. One is because it's a babysitter, just like a
it is a
TV show.
babysitter,
One,
yes.
it was a babysitter, and two, they just want the noise to stop because the kid is screaming about, they want to be on social media, they want this. It's just like being in a grocery store, and then a kid's, well, mom, can I have this? And then mom says no, and then they fall on the ground, crying and screaming, or whatever the case is, and the parent just wants the noise to stop and to stop being embarrassed, so they give them the toy or whatever it is they want. This is no different.
Yeah, Tom. Well, when we were kids growing up, you didn't have that option because you got kicked out of the store.
And a buddy
All
yard.
the shopping would have stopped right then and there. Somebody would have, mom or dad would have grabbed you, took you back to the car. You would have got an ass whooping at the car, and then go home, get another ass whooping because you interfered with the groceries, and then be left at home while I go back to the store to finish shopping, and you may get another ass whooping when they got back. So, yeah, that whole tantrum thing in the store generally wasn't an option for us. I
No.
mean, other kids would get away with it, but yeah, you normally didn't see our kids with our skin tone, with our melanin, to be on the floor there, kicking and screaming and crying and hollering because they can't get their way.
Facts. Facts,
Things
Jimmy.
things may change. Things may have changed now. I haven't been to the grocery store in a while, but things may be different now with these kids coming up. But yeah, yeah,
I would say
50
this.
years ago that was an option.
But the only answer is to limit the consumption of social media and these types of tools in the hands. They should be used for educational purposes only. The vast majority of people use them for entertainment and social purposes, not educational purposes, and that wherein is the problem.
But Tom, you made a good point that if you get, I mean, you get everybody wants attention, everyone wants praise, everyone wants that stimuli coming in. Who doesn't? But you know what? The way you get that is by earning it, by doing something, making good grades, doing something great at school, helping someone, let someone show their appreciation by saying thank you. Um, that's the kind of stimuli that you need that's healthy. This stuff on YouTube and these platforms is not healthy. They purposely give you I don't know what the rewards are for, these notifications. You got so many points. You get this prize, you get that prize. What does the prize mean? It doesn't mean anything other than some artificial reward, some algorithm that's giving you some reward to keep you coming back. So yeah, Tom, I think we have to just teach our kids and train them a little better. And sometimes parents don't realize how dangerous these platforms are until their kid is in the ground dead, unalive. and then they want to blame the platform when the reality is that, hey, you got to take some ownership of this at home. Spend more time with your kids, give them more praise, pat them on the back. If your child needs more attention, you need to give it to them. Don't let them turn to social media for some validation that you're not giving them.
Stop blaming the companies and get back to parenting.
Yes. And we said, Tom, how many times have we said that on this show? For years. We've been on almost over 10 years now, and we've been saying this from day one that parents have to start parenting again. Don't just leave it up to technology. Don't leave it up to the streets. Don't leave it up to the friends, the schools, the church, anybody else. You have to start raising your children, teaching them values, the things that's important as you understand them to be, and then you shape and mold your kids for the adults they're going to turn into. And if it doesn't turn out the way you had hoped, then you bear a lot of that responsibility because you're in charge of their growth and development as long as they're in your house and you're raising them.
Absolutely. All right, Jimmy. Those are our stories for tonight. We are a couple of minutes after the hour, but I hope everybody has enjoyed our show tonight. Make sure that you share this information with someone who could use that. Yes, indeed, these kids thirsty for attention. That was from cousin Audrey. We want to thank you for your show. We want to thank, of course, also Miss Bray, Miss Tanya, and Miss Marion for joining us on the chat line tonight. Jimmy, any closing comments before we close out?
No, we're good, Tom. I just want to thank everyone for showing up tonight. If you're watching the show live, I didn't get a chance to do my spiel, but invite a friend, a family member, a neighbor, or a friend of me so you guys have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. And please come back next week because this is what we do every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Yeah, and no, we're going to start back getting warmed up because college and pro football season is almost back. So
Yes. And if you have anything you want us to talk about, topics, or if you have anything in your neighborhood or your city that you want to share with us, yeah, please reach out to us and let us know.
good night, everyone.
Good night.